Hey everyone, I'm Gwendolyn and welcome to another round of Cooking the Books. This time we have Dorie Greenspan's Baking Chez Moi. It's all French baking or French influenced baking. There's a ton of recipes in here and I've picked Custardy Apple Squares to make this time. We start by buttering the pan and laying in a little parchment square. So I just have some soft butter and I just use scraps of parchment paper to do this because I have a thing about getting my hands greasy. So since these are Custardy Apple Squares, obviously apples are a huge part of it. I've got three Fujis here. They're nice and juicy, a little bit tart, and I'm just going to start by peeling them. Most of this cake is made up with really thin layers of apple, and then the custard kind of bakes in between. And in order to get those thin layers, I'm going to use a mandolin. You can certainly do this with a very sharp knife if your knife skills are quite good. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the core and then turn it. So you're left with a square. And you get these super nice thin layers of apple. Let's make the cake part. I've got some flour and I'm just going to add a little bit of baking powder. All over the counter apparently. And just give it a little whisk. And the custard part, which is basically eggs and sugar and milk. And salt. Just a pinch. And we're just going to whisk these until everything is pale and the sugar has started to dissolve. Vanilla. There's 2 teaspoons going in, so it is very vanilla-y. It goes really well with the apples. And then 6 tablespoons of milk. And some butter that I have melted and cooled. Lastly, we're going to put in the flour and we're just going to stir this like a low speed just until it's combined and smooth. You don't want to whisk this because you don't want to make it tough. And of course, we need the apples. What I found doing this is that if you kind of shuffle them in, it makes it a bit easier because you want them all to get coated in the batter, and if you just throw them all in at once, it makes it a little bit harder. So I just kind of gently am separating them as I'm putting them in. All the apples are nicely coated with the batter, so I'm just going to pour it into our dish and smooth out the top. Okay, by its very nature, it is not going to be perfectly flat. You just want it to be sort of as even as possible. All right, and now it just goes into the oven. So easy. Here are our squares. They're all cooled and I've sliced them into little cute little squares, and I'm just going to dust them with a bit of icing sugar. Thanks for joining me today. You can get the recipe in the article, and I will see you next time.